Hello, and warm welcome. Foremost to the audience, because I see really a lot of people being interested. That's nice. And of course to this small but very interesting panel. My name is Bianca Koczan, and I will moderate here, or I will try. So, you both, today, we talk about a big title, Leading the Movement of Circularity and Degrowth Through Technology. So let's have a look. What's in there? Circularity, degrowth, through technology, a movement, and then leading this. Well, we have two leaders here, Anna from YOONA and Oliver from H&M Beyond. So, since this was a very short start, maybe would you like to introduce yourselves a little, like who are you and what are you doing at, like Oliver, H&M Beyond? Mm-hmm. And then Anna, what are you doing? You have a microphone, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, great. So tell us.
Thank you. Shall I start then?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, I do so. Wow. Yes, as I said, we are called H&M Beyond, and it is an open innovation retail lab. What that means is that we have an urgency and a will to find solutions outside H&M. And this is on purpose, because we have a long history in doing exactly what we do in a very strong, efficient, impactful way. But the world changes and the needs of the world changes. Customer behavior changes according to that. Regulations changes, right? So there's many things that ask companies like H&M, also other industries and other companies to change and to just view at their business model and check, okay, can you take that, right? Can you take it to the future? And we in H&M Beyond, we try to really break down the holistic need for change and not being stuck and just, oh my God, it's so big. We try to really break it down to something we learn with external partners in the way, startups, universities, I've seen that on the map as well, exploring with generations like Alpha Generation 8-year-old kids, and find pleasure in being totally in an unknown field. So future's unknown for us, that's basically what we say, we don't know anything, that's our assumption, and we try to find people on that way in our organic growing network who have answers and ideas. And what we learned is that technology is nothing less, but maybe also nothing more than enabling that change throughout the whole business model. So it's not just looking at the front end, how can you create digital virtual services. It's also deeply rooted in how we produce things and what we produce. And that makes it so interesting for H&M Beyond to really go on testing level. So we try to create very naive test cases together with startups, and then we throw it out on the market and we ask customers and people to join, give us feedback, test that service, product or experience, and help us to understand, to shape it, to iterate it, but also see if there's a value. So we are piloting stuff in the market, and if it makes sense, if there's a great value from it, with the 3 Ps, as we've heard today, we try to hand it over and scale it with H&M. That's basically how we do and what we do. And it's deeply connected to our hearts, because we feel this makes it meaningful if this works out.
Quite impressive. Yeah, inspiring.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
We take it from here. Right. Okay, so
I have no microphone.
Yeah, you have no microphone, you need the microphone, so I give it to another very inspiring lady.
I want just to answer. So we have something in common.
I guess
it's deeply, it's by your heart. So I'm also working out of my heart and creating everything what I do. I was working as a designer once. I studied fashion design. Today also my professor is sitting here. It's super fun. And I recognized there's something missing. I needed technology to work easier and faster. I needed technology to calculate better what I should create. And yes, I started to learn coding. That was fun, and at the end, the coding books ended up like sketchbooks. And then I thought, maybe I'm better into creating teams and bringing people together, and then we create something like a software which is called YOONA. And YOONA is supporting designers. So today we are a tech team together with five designers working on a software and a platform which is cutting down design process to only some clicks. We are analyzing data. We're using AI to generate new designs in seconds, which should be bestseller in the best case. We just got a lot of big government fund to create 3D designs with AI in seconds also. We developed augmented reality to have a look-later that everybody on this planet can communicate without prototyping on their designs. And at the end, I see our platform as a platform which is connecting everybody in this value chain. And not only we as YOONA, sondern I see us as a platform where we include other startups as collaboration. So I see the future digital and collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, let's dig into this big topic. And we're not making baby steps. So, let's just agree that circularity and degrowth are very big topics that definitely the fashion industry needs to implement and work on. And my question to Anna now is, how can technology help here?
We just brought out our sustainability report. We analyzed different technologies, how we can use them to be and work more sustainable and circular in our industry. As Olli said already, we are the second biggest polluter. We are creating more CO2 emissions than France, Germany, and Great Britain together, and we are creating even more CO2 than the airplane industry, what I never could imagine. We can, for example, use AI to calculate better, to analyze data, company data or trend data, and then create bestseller designs, which is my focus and what I want. And right now we are creating products that are not sold. 30% are not sold. So we have to calculate better what we design to be close on the trend. And what it helps also, we are faster, because right now we are designing something, and when it comes to the shop, the trend is already over, so nobody buys it. This is one thing, and the other thing is what I talked about before is prototyping. Every company, I don't know, you worked as a designer also, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 prototypes until you get into production, and we need to create digital products to talk about and to use it as prototypes. And the next thing, we also developed augmented reality to make communication easier. Yesterday I was at a dinner with different fashion companies, and they told me, we are sending the prototypes all the time around. What should we use, airplane or ship, or how we should do that? And then they are not arriving. That doesn't make any sense anymore. So we should also use technology to communicate and cut this down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oliver, do you have something to add?
I try. The question was how technology helps in all of that, right? Technology
and like we're talking about circularity, degrowth. So
can we say this is like the fundamentals, right, and the framework? And I would say yes to that. I think that hopefully there's quite a clear common sense in the circularity, and it's so much more than just looking at there's a product out there and can we collect it back and what do we do with the materials. I mean, it goes back to the fields where the cotton is grown or where the material comes from, right? And so this is a total new kind of understanding, the whole process. And I realized that the longer you work in the traditional model, the longer it may take to transform, right? Because, I mean, in the end, the whole industry is working with designers that used to draw and create designs, people who are cutting samples, working with samples, sending it around, right? And it's such a socialized thing. So I get an understanding why things are not like really easy, but I think that the fundamental beliefs is true, because that's the only thing that will help us, circularity, and I believe it's the only thing to keep that value of fashion alive, that you can wear it, right? That you can express yourself and that you can feel well and you do not feel guilty anymore, right? I feel this is something that needs to be protected. So it's not that fashion itself is bad or you can't be fashionable. It's just the way how we do it and how we produce. So yes, and for growth, I think degrowth, it's just a matter of definition, right? Because sometimes if we are not carefully, we mix up the 1P of your statement, right? Profitability and degrowth. In my belief, I believe that this is something that we shouldn't mix up. So in order to be sustainable, it's totally fine that businesses grow, right? And they have a revenue and they can develop. But what I understand with a different definition for growth is what impact does this growth have in the world, right? And this is then people and planet. So therefore, yes, I agree fully to that. And the technology in that part is on many aspects really, really important to help changing, right? One thing is that how you talk about sampling processes and how you create designs, which is fantastic. I would also go so far that on-demand production and the technologies helping there, not producing and then try to sell it and then whatever's left over, reduce it to zero. So, and then just overspill the market. I think on-demand production is a key, and there's amazing technologies out there that help you guys and us as customers to get hopefully exactly what we want, right? And if we then have a nearshore production on top of it, or an automated production process, nearshore, imagine what that would mean from a CO2 emission perspective, right? So and then on the front end for the customers, I would say what the industry is also lacking is the task of helping consumers really to find what they want, like in the fit and size, in the design, so really understanding the needs and fulfilling it, which would also decrease the returns and the send arounds on the planet. So I guess technology plays an important role here. If we wouldn't have technology, we would maybe even do whatever we did the next 30 years. Does it make sense as an answer?
Does it make sense?
Sorry?
So, next question. Well, let's assume, interesting, goes well. Yeah, but question is now, okay, why does it not, I mean, we're talking movement here. Mm-hmm. So, what's a movement? A movement is a focused group action, says Wikipedia, I'm prepared. So, let's say, there's individuals doing something with technology, yeah? And we have this kind of like concept here that it needs a movement, that it needs more than only individuals working somewhere, something about something. So my question, building up on what you said before, is why a movement?
Shall I take this question first?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing is, it sounds great. Oh my God, I mean, this is now really a cultural aspect you're bringing in. And I learned a sentence that I always reflect on a lot is culture eats strategy for breakfast. Right? So leave 3 seconds to just talk it to yourself again. And that means that just by understanding and just by saying something and just by knowing is there, that's not the change and that's not the transformation, right? And I feel that that we somehow suffer from the long history and socialized aspects of being wealthy, having unlimited resources, taking what we need and make great products, right? So it was available and no one really took care. And now we are slowly understanding that things need to change. And yes, I guess what would help us is a movement. I guess what I could definitely say, that movement is a very holistic mix of different things. It's a customer, it's a government, it's big corporates, it's fantastic entrepreneurs, technology, so that all needs to go together and meet all the expectations. And I know that the urgency that is out there, that we all feel in different crises, that is just like putting pressure on mainly also big corporates like ours, that this influences kind of that collective agreement on, okay, now we need to change something. What is still missing though, and I hope that group has an answer, if the assumption is all is there, we just need to bring it together like a puzzle and access it and create a change, then the question for me would be, what's the mechanics and how do we solve it? Because that's no new answer. It's out there for quite a while. Oh, we should collaborate and co-create. But I feel something is missing though. Maybe Franzi has an answer.
We're going there. So, Anna, any idea how to envision this movement?
I mean, Olli said already everything I would also say. I would just come with an example. We are all fashion tech startups. We came here, I brought everybody, and Stefano helped to bring them all together. And my goal with this conference, or let's say happening here, is to bring all of us together, because we are all one puzzle in the big value chain. And everybody's working for its own. I mean, we don't talk, we don't move together forward, but everybody is a puzzle. And if we bring everybody together only in the startup scene for fashion tech, we already are movement. And then when we are saying corporates, we are B2B software. If you know what that means, we will have to work with corporates and with bigger companies. And how we come into these companies, it's super difficult for us to work with them. So Stefan is always saying that we have to bring startups together with the corporates. So what we do here, we bring companies here, and we talk together, and we sit together. And now it's suddenly easy. So the movement goes on, and so on. I brought the Berlin government in, Berlin partner. The idea of Universe was created actually with Stefan Franziska from Berlin partner, talking to him. So we bring everybody together, and I think if we do that, anyhow, without strategy, kind of just bringing together and learning of every conference, every day we do that, then we can create a movement. And not only in Berlin, we already talked about it, that later on we can go also further out of Berlin and move something and change this industry together.
Mm-hmm. And if I could answer that. I would like to add to that. Yeah, I keep it for a while.
I see.
I speak aus dem Nähkästchen plaudern. Was heißt das auf Englisch? You don't know? Okay.
Talk out of the box.
I speak from my heart, and there's so many great stories on how big corporates feel innovation happens and how we treat speed and how we see things, because things are moving. There's just great examples where you see, okay, wow, now we have like a guideline for designers on circularity. And now they start already, when they think about creating fashion, they already have circularity in mind. How cool is that? But would you imagine this happening 2022 or 2015? I don't know. So things take quite a time. And I can say from a company perspective like H&M, it's one thing that H&M Beyond is connecting startups and trying to create new offers, services for customers, because being a customer-centric company, when we see there's a customer value, that's maybe the easiest door to go through to then create change. But I see that there's a tendency that the true innovation is not the product or service. The true innovation is implementing that change. Mm-hmm. And this is the crazy thing. I'm not sure if Antje agrees on that from Telecom. This is the crazy thing, that it's also a mindset shift, and that it's an acceptance of open innovation, co-creation, and that the whole borders and the way how we normally are set up, that this is all obsolete, because that's kind of what you ask for, right? And that's also kind of what I think the ultimate answer is. But that means that we are all little kids sitting in the playground and imagine how we would change things, even big or small. It shouldn't make any difference anymore, right?
Yeah, I totally agree about this matter of kind of like identifying the actors, right? Making them visible too in all those places. And it is simple like that on the website of the Universe right now, there have been some faces with some names, and you get the idea that people are out there, hidden in those companies or those startups. So I think this very, yeah?
I'd like to know how many startup or working technology people are here today in this conference. How many people work in a corporate, Anyone else that is working in fashion,
Everyone.
Equal share. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Now that we understood why the movement maybe is a thing to think about, you still put on leading the movement in this title. So you both now, how do you imagine to lead this? And this is an interesting question because we know how industry worked before, how leaders have worked before. Is there maybe change in leadership as well when it comes to a new development? So who want to go first?
You want to go first or shall I?
I can.
Yeah?
I mean, we are all here, right? We had 8 weeks ago, we had this idea. So now you're asking how we change this and creating a movement and leading it. Yeah. Action, doing something. I think is the only thing, not sitting there and talking about it, bringing it forward. It's not the only conference we do today. We do in July next one, and changing it also depends how it goes. And I think action is the word for me to lead something.
Mm-hmm. And I would add to that maybe you have heard it, and I have some hard time with it, but I feel there's some truth in it. Today, everyone can be a leader. This is something that we learn and that we believe, right? It's not so much about roles and titles anymore. So I feel there's crazy people that are so impactful, having a great role and responsibility and the right mindset and the mandate, and they are pushing through. But I feel it doesn't need a specific role, right? Anyone, that's what I would tell my kids, anyone can change the world, right? If you follow your purpose and if you really have a need for changing something. So that's where I would say the word leading means something else than just being the front runner and being like the managing this through and everyone follows. I would say it's something more than that. It's bringing together diverse expertise and purposes, and out of that, creating something that has an impact, right? And this for me is leading, and I guess that leading something is also good because you need these lighthouses. What we learned from the bigger industry, if someone goes first and scales on-demand production, and you can buy a product with a big retailer that is on-demand produced, then you will see the whole development would explode and would exponentially go in that direction. But as long as no one moves, no one follows. So that's why there is a need for that word, I would say so. But I think it's not linked to a role or a certain mandate you have. It's linked to what we together believe should be changed.
Nice. I'm wondering, with the time, where are we?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. So I would rather not ask any more questions myself because I think maybe the audience really wants to ask something. I think this could be nice because I think you really made some statements here and it could be very interesting if somebody has a question that leads our discourse to interesting levels. Don't be shy. Is there anybody? Before we forget. Look, things happen. Okay.
I have one question. It's a tough question, though.
A what question?
Tough one.
It's a tough question, though. What's the role of Metaverse when we speak about circularity and degrowth? Do you think it has a role, or is gonna have a role in the future?
Great question.
I said that I'm ready.
Who goes? Okay.
Yes, I'm the head of sustainability at the ID Factory. The ID Factory is an innovative company, a B Corp, working in the supply chain traceability for fashion companies. And actually, as we are tracing the supply chain and we're digitalizing items from the production till on all tires in the supply chain, I'm asking myself, what can we do after we have digitalized these items? Also for what concerns the universe, metaverse, the ecoverse, there's also that.
Thank you. You said I should. That's a very good question, and I can speak personally about it if that's okay, because H&M doesn't have a clear perspective at the moment. It's very hype metaverse. It's very dynamic, and you see popping up information everywhere. And Mark Zuckerberg has his own vision and driving videos. And me as a father, I'm thinking, oh no, my kids are doomed. But I would love to separate this metaverse idea a bit. I love to look at it as virtual experiences and augmented experiences. I don't think that this will replace how we work and live and how we are connected to each other. I think it helps in many, many cases in education. It will be fantastic for entertainment. It will be fantastic for shopping, right, and having great experiences. But I would rather treat it as that at the moment, to be honest. So a virtual experience with a kind of freedom where you can look at fashion, work with fashion, be inspired, dress your avatar as you like, look totally different than you would normally look in the real world, because that's the freedom of it. But then switch off at a certain time. So there is kind of a human aspect, although all data shows that the time spent online is increasing. So we are rather online than offline. So it seems to be that Web 3.0 and Metaverse is a data-driven logical direction. But as far as I see it right now, the virtual experience in it is just great. And I would love to see my kids learning about the stars and the planets and just grabbing it, looking at it, reading on it, throwing it away, showing it their friends in the virtual world. But at the moment, not more than that, I would say.
Yesterday I was sitting with a trend researcher, how's it called, trend scientist, and he said we'll be all living in the metaverse. That will be our future. So I see always two points. One side, CO2 emissions, energy. We just talked about before, selling NFTs. But on the other hand, we just design one 3D design and then it can sold 1,000 times, and we don't have to produce it. So I think it has two sides, but we will see how it goes. Yeah, that would be my opinion. And yeah, I was looking at him yesterday and was saying, no, I had the same idea like you. Oh no, metaverse, we cannot live all in metaverse, but yeah, they're searching for the future, and they are convinced we will all live in metaverse.
Oops. Interesting to hear your perspective later, what
Yes.
you would say.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear that.
That's where I was leading to, kind of like, no more time for discourse like on stage. I think we need to cut off, but you heard them. This is the thing to happen. Please get them when they're standing somewhere, engage in conversation, because they want this movement to happen, it seems like, yeah? So, right. So I want to just say goodbye. Thank you both for being here. Thank you, first of all, being interested, and to the universe that we have this conversation.